Welcome to the Seed Storytellers series with my dear friends, April and Ryan Berg. You guys, thank you for joining us.
Woo! Thanks for having us,
Excited
Sarah.
to be here. Thanks
So for those of you that know April and Ryan, co-founders of the Aruna Project, doing some incredible humanitarian, activist, human rights, warrior of love, justice work in India. And here in the United States, you guys already know you're in for a treat. For those that don't yet know these two amazing people, I invite you to lean in, get ready to learn about human trafficking, get ready to learn about what can be done in the face of one of the greatest, I believe, human injustices in the world as we know it right now. They're going to share what's happening in the midst of the corona pandemic amidst their community in India that they are loving and serving and being family with, and get ready to be inspired and find a little bit of how you might be ignited to do something with us, with Aruna. And the last thing is get ready to find a bit of your story in theirs, because we believe that when we share what really matters to us, when we share our stories with each other, the lights of our lives come on, and we just find more of what matters to us as we really build community and live this life together. So you're in for a treat. Again, this isn't a passive, lean back thing. Get ready to be transformed and to learn something. This is going to be awesome. So thanks you guys so much for joining. Yeah. All right. Well, will you share, Ryan, a little bit about, first of all, what is human trafficking and how you personally really came face to face with the reality of this in a way that changed your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly, Sarah, I had no idea that it even existed probably about 10, 12 years ago. I knew that there were a number of injustices around the world, but had no idea that slavery still existed on the scale that it did. And was headed to India for work. And on CNN, I saw a little ticker line that made reference to 12 children being rescued from a brothel. And it floored me. I thought, what? I thought this is happening to the scale that somehow CNN is reporting on it. And I went back home and I Googled and realized that the very place that I was going to was a significant destination location for sex trafficking. And I told April, I said, when I get there, we're gonna find this. I can't believe that this is happening. And got there and got on the ground. There was a particular area and went into this particular brothel. And as soon as I stepped in, I mean, it was the smell of stale urine. There's rats everywhere. And as I started up the steps, I could start to hear the sound of abuse. And opened up into this long hallway that just had woman after woman, basically just lined up with nothing more than just a little closet-sized room with a mattress and a pull curtain. And I looked into the face of some of those women, and they were physically alive, but I mean, they were gone. Wow. And it was devastating. And truth be told, I stepped out onto the street and I just wept. I had never seen anything like it before. And there were two statements that were made kind of after that experience. One was from an aftercare worker that was trying to figure out ways to help care for the women. And she told me, she said, Ryan, the only hope that these women have is if someone comes from the outside in and does something. They are completely unable to free themselves. And then there was a second, and it was a pimp had made a statement that you do-gooders show up a day late and leave a day early. And I thought, this guy's literally banking on the fact that people aren't going to challenge what he's doing. And so when we got back, we began to talk about it, and we just said, we have got to do something. We can't just walk away in light of what we've seen. We've got to do something. And that began us on a deep dive into studying and trying to understand what is sex trafficking. And, basic definition that the UN uses is by force, fraud, or coercion, someone is pulled into some sort of a particular sex act. And for us, when we started to look at the global statistics, it was quite daunting. And then to specifically look in at India and realize the amount of slaves within that country, is extraordinarily high, by far number one in the world. And we thought, okay, if we're going to really go after something, we're going to focus right in this particular area, with the vision really to try and build something that would be able to scale and help as many women there, but then also to help women in the US as well, and then to see it expand into other countries. And so that was kind of the initial experience, the initial vision where we were headed. And
hey, when was that first kind of moment that you were talking about together? You were like, became aware of human trafficking, and
when was that? When was do you remember the date? 2008.
2008. Wow. Okay. So 12-ish years.
Mm.
So what happened next after that
that
seed of?
Yeah. I mean, again, coming back and just not able to get over what you see and not do what you see, but knowing we wanted to help, but not knowing what help looked like. We had no idea what help even looked like. And we weren't going to take our assumptions in and think we had the answers, because we knew we didn't. And so we took our whole family back and kind of embedded in the area for an entire summer, and stayed in a hostel. I mean, they were really little, little kids. And just kind of did a ton of research and asked different organizations and women themselves of who's doing what's happening from when a girl is trafficked to when she is freed and rehabilitated and reintegrated, if that's happening, what's happening on the scale, who's doing what. And it was very clear within, all those conversations very quickly, that the greatest need is employment. To truly create sustainable freedom, you are going to have that landing place be a change. And so that's when we started knowing that, so employ, what are we going to employ them to do, and what does that even look like? And so that brought us back to here, and we started doing research, just what would that look like, and we started the races kind of at the same time, where started the run walks, we both like to run and participate in races and that kind of thing. And so right from the get-go, before Aruna even started, we started a run here in Cincinnati, where you run or walk for a woman that we knew, that we had met there in India, that was still enslaved. And so we would just champion her, like taking all the numbers that we had learned that's happening on a huge scale in India and around the world of slavery, and saying, this is a human to human issue, and she has a name. And so we really wanted to champion that. Like, this is, she's created and beautiful, and we wanted to be her voice and give her a chance. And so that's when we kind of created that whole thing of making it from the larger numbers down to individual. And so we just would have a race every year, but in the middle of that, also researching kind of the market in the US to see what type of products we could use, what would that look like, and so that was kind of what, in the athleisure market just kind of took off here in the US. And so there's just a lot of multiple things happening all at the same time, and realized so many things where it was like, okay, this is where we need to go, because we could have designers and we can have all of these things, but to have the women create products and have like sustainable employment, and then being able to sell here in the US would be such a beautiful mix in it, to tell the full story and be sustainable at the same time.
Okay, so we'll fast forward to now. So you started the runs, and you knew that there was going to be something around athleisure, which, to be totally honest, I didn't even know that word until I met you guys. So that's like Lululemon, right? That's like, Yep. So it's, and Aruna. So tell us about what Aruna Athleisure looks like today.
Sure. And we'll even kind of connect some of those dots. So,
Yeah.
so the reason we started the runs in many ways was, like April was saying, to really be able to tell the individual artisan story. Because for us, what success really looks like is long-term freedom. So it's not just, training a young woman. It's not just helping free her. It's creating something that's sustained for her lifetime. And so we knew that in creating those Aruna runs, essentially what we were doing was to try and create runs all across the U.S. where people would truly be engaged on a personal level. And then that essentially becomes the marketplace to where we can start to sell the product. Because the really fun connect point is if somebody runs for, let's say, and I'm just making up a name, Reshma. If they run for Reshma in January, it could be that the very product that they would purchase in October is made by the Reshma that they helped to set free. And so it becomes this sort of full circle story. And so where Aruna is today, part of the reason why we did get into the athleisure industry is because we looked at the marketplace and we said, okay, what sort of businesses are doing well? Where do we think we could compete? But we also took a look at where things are going culturally within the US and the significant move away from fast fashion toward human impact.
Yeah.
People wanting to know that what they're purchasing is having a direct good impact.
Yes.
And so we looked and kind of took a look at some of the athleisure industry and said, there's space for a story here with a company that's producing products that's just as good as anything else in the marketplace, but is doing it and having a good human impact, not just eco-friendly, but a good human impact. And so for us, that became kind of the trajectory of where we wanted to go and how we wanted to do this thing, is so that we could create that sustainable business that had a double bottom line of, yes, we want to be profitable, but at the same time, it's for the sake and it's the means toward the ultimate end of caring for those women. And so that's kind of the combination of the nonprofit, for-profit, and how it kind of fits a little bit more fully into the athleisure.
Amazing. So so here we are in 2020. You guys are doing these runs, this beautiful line of athleisure products crafted by these women who are free and building community and building a sisterhood and a family, really. And then the corona pandemic hits. Will you give us a little, explain what you have seen just in the community of Aruna in India? How has the pandemic just been impacting the day-to-day lives of the women that have been freed, but then also the women that you are looking to free who are still in the brothels?
Yeah, so we, and that's a good designation to kind of say that it's almost like there's two different groups.
Yeah.
And we'll start with a group that has been freed. So we were coming into this year with, in total about 100 employees. And the goal was to try and get to at least 50 more young women that were freed, employed, and empowered. And like you said, the virus hit. And for us, it was huge, because on the nonprofit side, we had to cancel multiple runs. We had to cancel multiple fundraisers. On the for-profit side, we had to cancel multiple live sales events. And the financial impact was enormous.
Yeah.
And so we thought, how are we going to make it through this? Well, at the same time, we're thinking about the artisans in India, and we're thinking, okay, how can we make sure that they're going to be sustained? And so, we shut down the production unit actually about a week early because so many of the artisans have compromised immune systems. And so we actually shut it down early because we were concerned for their health. And then we immediately started to execute an economic downturn plan where we basically froze all hiring. We cut down the budgets. We cut the budget by a good 37%. And then we basically created an artisan stability fund that would be housed inside of Aruna, but it would be a restricted fund where we could get as much money in there as possible to make sure that we could continue to pay the artisan salaries. And what's been really tremendous is, as the artisans have had to stay in their homes with the stay-at-home order, which is a little bit more strict than it is here. You know, you're not even supposed to be leaving your home in Mumbai. And we've basically put in a few things in place to make sure that there's communication lines, make sure that people are being pursued and things like that. And the artisans have basically been talking to each other. We've been sending videos back and forth, doing a lot of things on WhatsApp. And they have been overwhelmed by the fact that they're still getting their salaries, even though they're not working. Even though they haven't worked for almost 3 months, we've still been able to pay their salaries. And that has been huge to them, a huge benefit to them.
Yeah.
You know, they've even kind of responded back to some of the management team and just said, why would you be so good to me? Why would you share these? Why would you continue to do this? I have so many other friends who, you know, in their jobs, they're not getting paid, and yet you're continuing to pay, even though we haven't worked. And it's basically been fun for us to just be able to say it's because we're family. We care deeply, and this is about sustainability. And so now they're really excited to try and get back to work. They want to kind of work and get after it and start going, which has been pretty exciting. And then just on the other side, the women in the red light area that we've been through our training center, which is the nonprofit side in the heart of the red light area. The training center team has also been at stay at home. A lot of the brothels don't have a stream of customers coming in because of the stay at home order. And so they have a bit of a reprieve from being forced to see customers. But at the same time, they don't have any money, and so they can't get food, and many of them are going hungry. So our training center team organized a way to get food to about 2 weeks worth of food to about 470 of the women that we've been, you know, pursuing within that area. And that's a huge benefit to them, just to be able to have some sort of sustenance, to be able to weather the storm of this virus. And so our hope is once we're able to kind of get back into that space and start working again, that we'll be able to, you know, to quickly move to get to the point where we can serve those women well through that training center, which is the on-ramp toward their freedom and employment.
Oh my gosh, amazing. And I want to make sure that for those of you that are watching, in the write-up, there's a link to the Aruna story that has, it's like a vortex of stories and connections with April and Ryan and Aruna and videos and just all kinds of amazing ways you can learn more about what they're up to. And also in the write-up is a link to a fundraiser that we are partnering to do during the month of June, with a goal to raise $4,000 this month, so that, as Ryan and April said, this outreach, it's really about food. It's about survival and caring for folks, for our sisters who do not have enough food, who need some money to buy food for themselves and their children. And so check out that link, that donate link in the write-up, and give what you can and make a tangible difference in the lives of these women, our sisters in India. So Ryan and April, so here we are in June with these big unknowns of how all of this is going to, like, what's going to happen. What have you been, like, what do you see on the horizon for Aruna? There's so many conversations in both nonprofit and for-profit around the pivot. You know, what do you guys see that might be a few gifts or roses in this really, really challenging season, either now or in the days to come within the pandemic?
Talk a little bit about Rita.
Yeah, so one of the, obviously we're a consumer brand. And so it's the unknown there alone was not having a clue what was going to happen, and for a lot of people, here and all over, just the unknowns is always kind of scary, and fearful at times. But a really neat thing is right before all of this hit, we had decided to launch something very simple, but it's a new style of headband.
Yep.
and it's wider, but you can use it for running and all of that. And so we had these beautiful colors, and we were going to launch it right around Mother's Day was kind of the intent earlier on. And so the women had created all of them and sent it to us right before everything shut down. So we had it all in hand. And so our team, debating, do we launch, or is that weird? Should we not launch something during this time of uncertainty? And so we thought, well, it was right around Easter. And so just something springy and pretty. We were like, let's just do it. Let's just launch it and see what happens. And so we did. And whether it was from the price point to whatever it might be, the story getting out, not many people advertised. I don't know what it all was, but these things took off. And so that had been such a wonderful blessing and surprise to us that we love them. Of course, I will say that about all of our products. But just to have something like that and to really take off and people loving it and getting all these comments and people being able to use them some used them as masks and others, and then even from that, we had some nurse friends reach out and said, hey, would you guys ever consider putting buttons on your headbands? Because I love them, but if you put a button on them when I wear my mask all day, it'll just help save the ears for healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
And so we were like, sure. And so we have some friends of ours, locally that were like, also some buttons. And so we launched a whole line.
So cool.
And those are doing really well. And then just even giving back here and to the medical community too, and, giving special rates and that kind of thing. And so it's just been, you pivot, like you have to pivot and you have to wonder, how can we help people here and how can we be of service? But then ultimately, these are all the purchasing of the products go directly back over to help sustain the women that we employ. And so that was unexpected, but at the same time, such a blessing during these times. And that even moving forward of what does this look like in our products? And we always have an intentional design when we create our products, very intentional, from the artisan names inside the liners to, everything has, all of our tags have quotes by the women and just different things like that. But I feel like this, even in this time, has helped us kind of reflect and say, okay, in our designs, how can we be very intentional that blesses both them as well as our customers and who we're making these products for.
Yes. And all in that Aruna story link in the write-up, there is a link to the Artisan Stories page that Aruna has put together that is so amazing. Just story after story of women who have gone from being enslaved to being free and flourishing and family and together in life. So actually, I would each of you guys share, I know we can't share their names just to protect them, but would you each share one story that pops to your mind of a woman that went from being in a place of living in the brothel and being enslaved to now being free, and what you have seen happen in her life in that trajectory or that transformation?
Oh, yeah.
I know, pick one. Good grief. That's a very hard task.
Yeah. So I'll share one. So I'm sitting in our office in the business, and usually what I'll do is I'll meet with, because I travel to India frequently, and I'll meet with all the new artisans that are coming in. As a young woman is freed, she goes into transitional housing. We give her the option if she wants to step into the business, and most of the women choose that option. And so then I meet with them and just kind of explain the nature of why the business was created, what we're producing, where we're heading. It's a way to talk and ask if they have any questions and anything like that. Our aftercare specialist does a tremendous job with that, but it's just, I have a small little, where I just kind of offer things. And so I kind of shared like I normally do, and then, asked if any of the artisans had questions, and a few of them asked a few things. And there was one particular woman who just remained quiet the entire time. And right at the end, once we were finishing, she looked up and she began to speak, and then she began to speak more quickly and then more quickly, and her voice kind of raised, and she was speaking in Hindi so fast I couldn't catch everything that she was saying, and I only know minimal Hindi, so I was kind of stuck, and then she just started sobbing. And I thought, oh no, I thought, what is the problem? What's the challenge? And I looked to our aftercare specialist, and she kind of looked at me and she said, Ryan, she's referring to the fact that, something like 2 years ago, you were inside that brothel and you explained about this business that you were creating, and you explained about this pathway toward freedom, and you explained everything. And she said, in that moment, she said, it sounded so good, but it was impossible. It couldn't be true.
Wow.
She said, now that she's sitting in this place and seeing this beautiful company and all the women, she said, I'm just overwhelmed. I just can't believe that this has actually happened to me. And it was awesome because now we've had that young woman with us for now well over 2 years, and just to see the transformation, you cannot put into words the transformation that you see happen from inside that brothel to where some of the women are now. It's such a significant transformation that if they walked into a coffee shop where you were sitting, you would have no idea that that's some of their backstory. It's tremendous.
So awesome.
It is. And it's one of those things too, where in the piece that we make sure that goes along from when they come into our freedom business and all of that is holistic care. And so that is such a key piece to it all, where it's a community. And like mentioning that is, they consider it family, and that's what we really, really want them to know, that this is a safe place and we're a community and we are family. And so, and that's the drastic difference that you see when somebody walks in to see the girls sharing their lunch with a new girl who comes in. Like, they understand what it's like that first day setting foot in there. And so you can give, name after name and story after story, but that they themselves will share with you and share with others that come in. It's incredible to see how they each can take that and share it with other sisters that come in. It's really incredible.
Yeah, and I'll say this, Sarah. I mean, honestly, the only reason I shouldn't say the only, but the main reason we've seen things happen the way they are is because of the artisans. I mean, their perseverance and their determination and their willingness to learn a whole new craft and to excel at it and continue day after day to learn it and get better. And I remember some of them even saying to us, like, give us some things that are a little more challenging. We're like, okay, all right, we'll try more challenging things. And it's just fun. I mean, we're to the point now where, they're a part of some of the design discussions. I mean, they want to know in terms of, okay, where are we headed as a business? And we try to open that conversation up to them, especially the team leaders, as much as we possibly can. And it's amazing to watch them own it and say, someone will say, this is my company. And then they're looking beyond just where the company is now, and they're saying, how can we help other women? How can we help get out to help the needs of others? And so it's incredible watching them as they continue to persevere and grow.
That's amazing. So I would like to talk a little bit, because we've talked about a 12-year slice of your family's life. That I know there have been, incredibly high points and incredibly low points, and like moments where it's like, the why is fueling, it's like a fire and it feels good. And then where it's like hard and unknown and scary and uncomfortable and all the, like the highs and the lows, right? So I would love for y'all to talk a little bit to us about what are some of the ways that you individually and as a family are kind of making your way. I call it soul care, or these places of pause, ways to really fuel our lives so that we're not just doing good and like gritting it out, but we have a place to go. Like the well is being filled. And so for you guys, what would you say are a couple of practices, rhythms in your life that really fill you up? And then as a family, what sorts of things, especially in the midst of this pandemic and lockdown and quarantine, what have you guys been doing as a family? You have 2 kids, right?
3.
3 kids. What are their ages again?
16, 14, and 12.
Okay. So, big household, lots going on, running a business, doing all these things. Just share with us a little bit about those 2 pieces.
Sure. Well, I would say, when we first had that experience in 2008,
Yeah.
it took us a long time before we actually left our jobs and launched Aruna in 2014. And in many ways, that was kind of a preparation time, like, okay, are we really going to do this? And then once we launched in 2014, I mean, it literally daily, you go from this extraordinary high to this absolute low. It's the entrepreneurial journey of just high highs, low lows, and them happening nonstop. And I think early on, I thought, okay, at some point that's going to kind of change. And we're not quite there yet. I thought coming into this year, it was just, and then we hit
2020.
Oh. But I would say through it all, for me, one of the most absolute constants in all the change, the absolute constant for me has just been faith in who Jesus is. And that has made all the difference. Just knowing that who he is, what he's like, what that means for me, and for the rest of my life and into eternity, he is the constant in a constantly changing world. And so for me, that's the thing that gets me through. Our family, I would say, is also we have a ton of fun together. And so the stay-at-home order has actually been a lot of fun. There have been a lot of wrestling matches. There's a $50 standing bet that if the kids can pin me, both shoulders, both hands, they get $50, no questions asked.
Woo!
So far, the only one that's been able to do it is Stella, our 12-year-old, because she did it sneaky. I was laying on the floor and she kind of came up beside me, and then she just kind of rolled over on top and kind of pushed my hand down and grabbed the other hand real quick and goes, pin, and she got it. So.
That's awesome. Stealth Stella.
I would say for me, I'm totally an introvert, and one of the main ones in our family that is that. And so I would say getting up before anybody else and exercising for me is just, it's so refreshing, and that is critical for my heart, my soul, and just reviving that. And I think just, being able to just reflect, and just in the quiet nature of everything, just to think and pray and all of that is so critical for me to be able to continue to give and to help and that kind of thing. So I would say that for me is just, and whether that's running with a friend too, of just fighting everything, and just for that moment, those 3 to 5 miles, whatever it might be. That's huge.
5 miles, just sidebar, high five on that.
Well, that's what happens when gyms close. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So that has only happened recently. It's unintentional, really.
Right. Okay, and what's this Friday thing you guys do with going off the grid?
Yeah, so Fridays, as soon as Fridays hit, we basically shut down. I basically put my phone to the side, don't open the laptop, and and just dive into the weekend and have a ton of fun together. And so,
Have wrestling matches.
yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, we try to make sure that the kids have all their friends over so we can have fun with them. And in many ways, just to be able to say, you know, we aren't so important that we need to work through the weekend.
Yeah.
So we recognize that, you know, the work that's being done will continue on. And we've got great team members that have done a lot of work throughout the course of the week. And we're able to be able to say, you know, we can all take some time off on the weekend, and just be able to enjoy and to be able to recoup. And like you say, you know, a place of pause.
Yeah.
It for us, it becomes a whole weekend of pause where it's just refreshing and kind of get back to it once Monday hits.
So what strikes me about that is it's like to do that, because you could work all weekend long. You could work into the night, many nights, you know, for years on end. There's no end to the work to be done. And what strikes me in how you talked about that is it has this texture of humility, of like, you know, it's not up to us to save the world. We're going to do our part. But I don't know, if it feels very humble, and also there's an element of trust. Like, we can shut the laptop and put the phone aside, and, you know, our women that we love, you know, are going to be okay. And, you know, I don't know, it's very beautiful and powerful to hear the conglomeration of all of those, the Berg ways of making it, you know, not just barely getting through life, but trying to do so, you know, playfully and with joy and, I don't know, fun. And
it's hard because I feel like a lot of times you want control and everything. And I feel like over the last whole lot of months, you know, 2020, let's label it, it's just things are out of our control, you know? So you have to trust, and we do think that there's a greater, you know, someone greater who has ultimate control. And that's what I want to place my trust in, and knowing that, you know, he has the care of the artisans and the people that we love and all of that. And so I think that is almost a relief, not just, you know, going about, not only is it a relief to me, but it's a relief knowing that I don't have the control and that I can trust, knowing that he ultimately has their good in his care. So.
Okay, so that's your guys' family soul care are the F's we were talking about: faith, family, Fridays. What was the other one? Oh, flowers. Mowing the lawn and the flowers.
I love flowers. I love them. I love caring for them. I love mowing my lawn.
Right.
Starts with an L, so it doesn't work. So
it doesn't work. We'll call it flowers. Okay, so as we near our wrap up time, before we do, April, Ryan, and I really want to take a moment and invite those of you watching live and on the replay to kind of allow the stories to kind of scroll through your mind, or imagine it's like hitting rewind on a movie, and just see where your imagination was most captured. What in their stories, what in the stories of these women in India, whether human trafficking, sex trafficking is brand new to you or something that you've cared about for a long time. The journey of 12 years, you know, the seed being planted in 2008, and it took 12 years to get to where they are now, and there's still a lot more to be done, right? So whether it's perseverance, whatever, it's going to be different for everyone. But what I want to invite us each to do is to not just say, my gosh, these two are so amazing and inspiring, and you are, but take that inspiration and connect it to your own story, and find the thread that you can pull from April and Ryan's story into your own, and become, learn something new about what matters to you, what you want to do, what your why, you know, might be more of now that you have heard this story. And the further invitation is to take that thread and to choose one thing to do. We call it inspired action, because otherwise if it stays just in inspiration and just in the feel good stuff, then it's beautiful. But the cool thing is when it gets grounded into the soil of our everyday life, we become different because of our connection with each other, our stories, our learning and leaning in, and becoming transformed by each other. So please choose one thing that you are inspired by, one thing you want to do different because of April and Ryan's work and lives. And the other thing that we want to do is say, we know the stories that we have shared are hard. They must be hard. I hope they are hard for me for the rest of my life. I want to have tears come to my eyes and goosebumps to my skin when I hear about brothels and children in brothels and small rooms with women who are slaves. It has to be uncomfortable for me. And if it is for you, I get it. We're with you, and use that discomfort to fuel what you might do. And go to those places of pause, that soul care, because we can't stay in the discomfort without being grounded and rock solid. Otherwise, we have to walk away. So please return to that. But furthermore, if you yourself are in a place of a hard moment in life, because the world is hard for so many, life is hard for so many. April, Ryan, and I want to kind of reach our arms and our hearts through this screen and just have this sense of profound interconnection as sisters and brothers to remind you that you're not alone. May you feel a flicker or a blazing flame of hope because of something in their story. Don't give up. That was one of the things that you guys wanted to share. Don't give up. This too shall pass. So before we wrap up, April and Ryan, would you guys each share one last kind of story, something that's on your mind, on your heart that you'd love to leave us with before we all go into the rest of our days?
I often think back to that statement of the pimp where it was essentially a challenge of you do good or show up to, a day late, leave a day early. And it was a real question of perseverance. And to me, that's what you've just been touching on, Sarah. To me, is one of the most critical elements, is the idea of just day after day, one step after one step after one step. Nothing, grandiose, no, but just simple, consistent perseverance. I think is one of the absolute keys. If somebody does feel that stirring to step into something and help bring about change for the sake of others, it's that perseverance is just absolutely key. And that's one of the things that I've learned so much from the artisans, as you see them continue to persevere day after day after day. And to me, I think that would be something I think we could walk away from in all of our, wherever it is that we're at and whatever is that passion that we want to pursue. Keep going, persevere through it.
Thank you. I love that.
Yeah, I think for me, just, and obviously my heart is in it too as a mom. And so with these women and just the whole, the human being aspect of it, and how each of them, they have a name, they are a human being and deserve dignity and respect and all of that. And so many of them have children and or dependents, whatever that might be. And so the whole aspect of it is giving them a voice and continuing to be that voice for them and giving them a way up, not a handout, not any of those types of things. And seeing them and what dignity restored looks like and appearance of them, just like that is just, it is valuable in so many ways. But for me as a mom and just wanting to fight for them in that right as well, and in my children and all of that, of just, I would want somebody doing that for them as well. And so all of that, everybody can do something. And having everybody equally having that right as a human being. And so, and it can be in a number of different ways. For us, it's this, but just seeing the restoration in each woman it's incredible. And so I think that for me is just being able to continue to fight for them.
Yeah. And to your point about everybody can do something, I want to remind a couple, and you guys clarify for me, that there's so many cool ways that Aruna has kind of set the table for us to be able to choose how we might be able to make a difference. One is shop, this beautiful athleisure brand. One is run, once the runs start up. Hopefully the fall, is that the goal? Is that right?
Virtual runs that people can
virtual runs. Okay, so there's a link to that in the Aruna story link in the write-up. One is share this story. Go into the Aruna vortex of Instagram and Facebook and be inspired and share what inspires you. And then the fourth is donate. Please donate to Aruna's long-term sustainability. Donate to the funding for food for our sisters who are going hungry in the brothels. That link is in the write-up. If you can do something, choose one thing to do with us, with Aruna, to make a difference, because I believe it's a gift to us. It makes the lights of our lives turn on. It makes our lives feel good, meaningful, purposeful, connected, all the things that make us smile and feel purposeful. So it's not just giving, but you're also receiving a lot when you choose to give in this way. So you guys, thank you for who you are, for what you do, for sharing your story. Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks so much for having us on and for all that you're doing to amplify so many people's stories and giving them a place to live out their passions. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's so fun. Next time I want to be in Cincinnati in the Aruna warehouse with you guys, but this is the next best thing. So you guys, thank you for watching. Again, whether live or on the replay, and April, Ryan, and I want to just end with reminding you how much each and every one of you are loved, how much you belong, how deeply we belong to each other. And the invitation for all of us is to stand tall and to light up the world together. So until next time, see you guys. Peace.